Hello, WiCCD members. My name is Maya Shukairy, and I am WiCCD's Education Committee Director. I'm happy to introduce our series, Finding Your Niche. In this series, we will interview female criminal defense lawyers who practice in a specific area within criminal law. The goal of our series is to highlight the work and accomplishments of female criminal defense lawyers, but it is also a way for us to introduce you to specialty areas within criminal law. We hope we can help you find your niche. Enjoy the series. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good, Maya. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's very nice to see you, and
You
thank you
too.
for taking the time to meet with me today to
Thank
talk about you. So let's start and tell us, Jessica, what do you do? Where's your practice space? What kind of files do you take? And tell us a bit more about your line of work.
Thank you for having me, Maya, and congratulations to you on your recent award. So well deserved. It's an honor to be speaking with you today.
Thank you.
Um, I am an associate lawyer at a firm called Lockyer Zaduk Zeek in Toronto. I take on, I primarily do, I would say the majority of my work is found in appeals, but I do also spill off of that is a lot of wrongful conviction work, um, which we call ministerial review applications, which are very timely and could often take years, sometimes north of 5 years to do. So I'm involved in a lot of that. And I also do have a trial practice, and I do parole hearings as well. And I my practice is primarily criminal law. Um, the parole aspect of it would be probably considered something more in the administrative law branch. But as part of practicing criminal law, I'm often brought into um, files that intersect with other areas like employment and immigration. I actually have I'm actually counsel, one of many counsel in an admissibility hearing happening before the Immigration Refugee Board in a month. And it's interesting because one would think, why are you doing that? But the allegations in that case are rooted in criminal, um, his spirit of criminal law. And so I was retained to consult on that, and there's actually a charter issue that I will be arguing. So that's just I say that because yes, my practice is primarily criminal, but it does have some interesting, more creative aspects to it that aligns with other areas of law as well.
So it is primarily criminal, but you actually do a lot of interesting things in criminal. I mean, something that we do, a lot of criminal lawyers do appeals and trials. I'm one of them, but um, and what you have that's interesting is you also have these wrongful conviction cases and parole hearings. So that's a bit different. Not too many criminal lawyers do that. So maybe you can tell us a bit more about the wrongful conviction line of work, and how did you get into this? How does one get these types of cases?
Well, contrary to popular belief, I got into them before I started working with James Lockyer. When I before so I started at the former Lockyer Campbell Posner in fall 2020, but before that I worked as an associate at another firm called Hicks Adams, where I worked closely with another appellate lawyer named Richard Lakowski. And while I was there, um, I had a client who had exhausted all rights to appeal, including leave to the Supreme Court, and he called me to, he was looking for other options, and I started. I felt very, I guess I was very open-minded at the time, and I did my research, and um, I think having I think working with someone like Richard, who has experience with, who had experience with some of these files and applications, was helpful for me. I was able to run ideas off him, but I had started this client's ministerial review application for him, and I got it to a place where I felt comfortable enough to submit it on his behalf to Innocence Canada, who had accepted it and then took it on from there. So that was my first step into it. That's how I got into it. When I started working with James, that obviously took off to a different world.
Yeah.
You can't ask for better experience in that world than working alongside him. It's interesting, Mike, because I have my hand in a few of these applications, but it feels strange for me to say that I do this work because I haven't yet seen the end result of any of it because it's so
Long.
far
Yeah.
in the pipeline. Like the first case James ever brought me on to, when I started with him after a week, was a case that is at the time wasn't what it is now, and it's the Quaison's sister case. It's two Indigenous sisters out of Saskatchewan who were convicted in '94 of second-degree murder, and now they're at the second stage of the ministerial review process, where the minister has said that there's a possibility that there was a miscarriage of justice. So that statement from the Minister of Justice allows the the person who's seeking ministerial review to or seeking exoneration, I should say, to pursue bail pending ministerial review. And the sisters, actually, Odelia and Narissa, just got bail. So that's incredible. They've been in custody. I've read that they've been in custody more than any other either Indigenous women or women in Canada, well, in the 30-year mark, which is a lot given what the case and the facts in that particular case, given that there was someone else who came forward to say that they did the actual killing. So anyways, that's a case that is still has a long way to go. But I give that as an example because I started working on it from the beginning in 2020. And it's now, what is it, April 2023?
Yeah, 3 years.
And we've just gone to the second phase of the ministerial review process. So that's, I think, and then everything that's happened after that has just been, my personal experience with it and being able to just jump into these files because I had made the effort before to learn about them and to understand what's required.
And still on this topic of wrongful conviction cases, are they also more administrative, like parole hearings, or are they criminal?
So that's a really interesting question because by the time they, hit the media or the time if they're successful and they are sent back to the Court of Appeal or some sort of, if that's the order made, by the time before it gets to that point, it is entirely, it is based in criminal law.
Yeah.
It's based on, there's a section in the criminal code, section 696, that permits you to seek this remedy from the Minister of Justice. And on the basis that there was a miscarriage of justice, usually there has to be some form of fresh evidence to say, that wasn't available at the time, that's now available. And you see that a lot in the context of forensic evidence, DNA evidence, any sort of expert testimony that has now been disproven. But I would say it's rooted in criminal law. But the majority, a lot of the work and elbow grease that goes into it is the written submissions. And some materials could be anywhere from 300 pages to thousands of pages. And that's why it takes so long to put some of this stuff together, put these applications together. And then so then it has to get reviewed by the justice and then by the Minister of Justice. And then it goes through one phase and then it goes to an investigation phase. And then after that, the minister will either make an announcement or, the appeal will find that there's not the appeal. The minister's
It
office will
seems,
say that there's no issue, or it gets sent back to a court of
but
appeal.
it seems like it is more akin to an appeal, right? Like it's, or is it kind of in
Eventually,
between, or is it like between an appeal and administrative proceeding?
the first half of it is reinvestigating the entirety of the case from beginning to end.
Okay. Okay.
That's probably the best way to put it. And then if you meet the first few hurdles and the minister says, yeah, there's probably an issue here, then it becomes more appellate based because it goes back before the provincial court of appeal, and
Okay.
it's litigated from that point.
Okay, so that's very interesting because it's very unique and it's different from what we usually do as trial lawyers or just a regular appeal. So okay, and it's said, and from what you said, there's a lot of writing in the process. So there's a lot of written submission.
Yeah, it's a gargantuan task. It's
Yeah.
not it makes writing an appeal for the court of appeal look like a nursery rhyme. It doesn't, but it just makes it look, the amount of material that comes with some of these cases and the amount of work involved is really difficult to imagine. I want to couch all of this by saying that recently there was legislation that came out that introduced a new commission, a new miscarriages of justice commission, like an independent body to oversee these applications. It's called the David and Joyce Milgaard Act. It was announced, it was tabled in March. It's probably, it's probably going to come into effect. I mean, I don't want to say for sure, but maybe end of this year, beginning of next year. And I say that because what I'm saying now about the process in terms of applying to the Minister of Justice, that's all going to change. That's all.
Okay.
That's I don't know. Well, I'm not entirely sure what it's going to look like when this new commission begins, but the application process will be sent to an independent body rather than, an arm of the government, which is actually great news for those wrongfully accused people,
Right.
wrongfully convicted people.
And this announcement, I think it was made recently. I think I saw that
It
not a
was in
long time ago.
March.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it was end of February, beginning of
Yeah.
March.
Yeah, because I do remember. I don't remember when exactly, but I do remember reading about this. But I wanted to ask you, Jessica, is this type of work funded by legal aid? Like, or do the clients have to pay for these cases?
Uh, it goes either way.
Okay. But
Sometimes legal aid funds it.
okay.
Sometimes it's privately funded. But more rarely, though, it's very rare for it to be privately funded. It tends to be legal aid funding, or it tends to be on the back of Innocence Canada.
Okay. But I mean, there is some funding from legal aid for these types of cases.
There is, but it tends to be once you've established that there's a problem.
Okay. Right.
So it's a lot of, I mean, it's not always, it doesn't always look the same way twice. But there's, in a case where there's no immediate funding, is, sometimes there's an opinion that's paid for or something along those lines, but other times, sometimes it's a case where that's just pursued on the basis that the error is obvious, and it's pursued on a goodwill basis, in the hopes that maybe funding will kick in once we've done our due diligence and established that there's a possible issue here worth
And
advocating for.
out of, like everything that you do, trials, appeals, wrongful convictions, parole hearings, what do you enjoy doing the most as a criminal defense lawyer?
Probably appeals.
Appeals, regular
Yeah,
appeals.
I just came off of a streak of maybe being at the Court of Appeal at least once a week for the past 6 or 7 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think I appreciate, I like doing appeals the most. I like parole hearings too. I mean, I like all the work, but I think I feel most comfortable doing an appeal, and it's probably because I think I've just done more appeals than anything else in my practice.
Nice. And okay, so we know what you like to do in terms of being a criminal defense lawyer, but I know there's something very interesting that you like to do on a personal level. So maybe you can share that with us and tell us about your your out
Are
of
you talking
court.
about my career as a karaoke singer, Maya?
Exactly. So maybe you can tell us more about this, Jessica.
Well, it's something my husband and I like to do in our spare time. We have a karaoke machine that's probably more than half the size of me, and it's I guess how I'll put it is I think it's how we express ourselves. We don't really think too much about it. It's just what we will probably like to do most in our spare time.
Is this something that you do like every night or on weekends or
We try to keep it back in a different time, we'd probably be doing this every weekend.
yeah.
um but the problem is when we start, it's hard to stop. So we probably don't do it as much as we used to. But when we do karaoke, it's a big event.
And is it
My
just
friends
you and
are
your
watching this, they'd be laughing right now.
but is it just you and your husband or do you invite friends as well?
It started off as just my husband and I when he in a time where he wasn't my husband, and
Okay.
now it's we've gone our whole group of friends into it.
Nice. And and you don't feel embarrassed to be singing karaoke, and what kind of songs actually do you sing?
There are no limits when it comes to the genres. Whatever song we feel is what the song that we'll play, and that can be anything from, I don't even want to put names to the genres. It's there's been country, there's been black, there's been death metal, there's been different languages. It's um whatever moves you is what we support here. It's just having fun. And uh are we afraid of being embarrassed? No, like, because if anyone's going to be judging you while you're doing karaoke, then they shouldn't be there to begin with.
Yeah.
It's fun. And I think the question is more so, do you have shame? Do you feel any shame while doing it? And
Well, do
I don't know.
you feel any
I don't
shame?
know what it says about me, but I don't. So that's not to say I'm uh, any good. No, I'm good at being confident at it, and that's about it. Maybe making it entertaining for others around, but um, there's a reason it's you've seen no public displays of it.
Well, I mean, definitely when I meet you in person, I know what we will be doing. We'll be doing karaoke, I guess. Like that will
I
be a
hope
nice,
so.
yeah.
I
I
haven't
mean,
had a work
I'll,
outing yet.
I
I've
mean,
tried.
I will watch you because you seem to be very experienced. I'll watch you sing. I'll be the spectator, but it will be
Okay,
fun.
but you'll have to sign an NDA beforehand.
Right.
The honor code usually works, but have to be sure.
And well, so just like a final point, though, Jessica. So because I mean, obviously, like any criminal defense lawyer, we're all very busy, especially when you do trials and appeals. They're both very demanding. It takes a lot of your time. So we know you do make time for karaoke, but in general, how do you balance your career doing all of these things? Um,
That's a tough. You know, I don't know that balance has a one size fits all. I think balance is whatever feels good to you in that moment, whether your version of being burnt out is made out or not. For me, I have my husband is also a lawyer, so and both our jobs are very demanding, and also in the same light, we're both champions of each other's careers. And I say that because I think we probably work a lot more than what many others would consider like work, normal for work-life balance. But I think those are not fair. I don't think you should limit yourself in that sense. I think whatever feels right to you is how it should be. There's times where I am obsessed with work, and there's times where I don't want to hear anything about it at all.
Yeah.
And I just respect myself during those times. Um, the good thing is I really do love what I do, and when I'm away from it for a period of time, I'm one, never that away from it, and two, I miss it, and I miss like the surge that I get from it. So I guess the best way, in short, to answer this question is I try to be in as tune with myself as possible. When I need to step away, I step away, um, and I have no questions or qualms about that. And the rest of the time, I work and I do what I want to do. And at the practice, like I have, each facet of it requires a different skill set. And sometimes I'm in the mood for one skill set, and sometimes in the mood for the other. And even in that, to that extent, I'm able to just sort of listen to myself and what feels right in the moment. And that's what works best for me. Just being true and not and being forgiving. And if you need a break, you take that break, because you are no good to anyone if you're not taking care of yourself.
That's so true. I mean, like, even your clients will be better served when you're in a good place and you're feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, that's I mean, I've seen that play out exactly that way in my practice. And um, when I made that connection, like I'm going to be the only person who's going to respect myself and my time, a lot of positive started to flow from it.
That's true. Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for this lovely interview. It was very nice to meet you because I mean, I know we haven't met in person yet, but hopefully soon you'll be singing karaoke. I'll be watching you. I'll
I
learn
can't
how
wait.
to. Yes, hopefully very soon. Thank you for your time and for being my guest on finding your niche. And good luck with all the work that you're doing. And I follow you on social media. And maybe one thing we can tell people where they can follow you and find you. So I know you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't know. I don't think I follow you,
Yeah,
but
I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah. Not
okay.
as exciting as Twitter though, and
Yeah.
or Instagram to a lesser extent.
So people can find you on social media as well if they want to know more about you and the work that you do. Thank you so much for your time, Jessica.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor speaking with you today.
It was very nice to meet you. Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.